I'm Jen. Thanks for watching my channel. You know, I'm almost 60. I turned 60 this year, and thinking about and planning for my retirement date, because I'm still working, is almost like another full-time job. I know that I'm not alone in this. I'm the first cohort of Gen X. I'm the oldest of the Gen Xers, and so there's a bunch of us starting to think about this stuff now, and I hope you're not just starting to think about it. But since I have for my entire life been declaring that my career goal is retirement, I figured I might have some insights to help you out. If you've been paralyzed with indecision about whether to start thinking about retirement or whether you're just indecisive about picking your go date. After all, picking your retirement date is one of the biggest financial and lifestyle decisions that you will ever make. Let's start with the big one, money. Can you afford to retire? A lot of people don't want to look. They don't want to figure it out. They just want to wing it. They say to themselves, well, I've got what I've got, or I'm going to have what I'm going to have, and that's going to be it. Oh my gosh, no. Look, I know that it's scary, and I know that you're probably thinking that the numbers that you yourself come up with will eventually tell you that your go date for retirement is sometime after the age of 123. Or that you don't even know where to begin and you don't have any money to hire a financial planner and you don't trust them anyhow. So you're just gonna leave it all in the hands of the universe. But no, you can do this. It means looking at your savings, looking at your government benefits, looking at your pensions, looking at any other sources of income you might have. I'm putting helpful government retirement income calculators in the description. They're free to use them. And I'm also advocating to look into your expenses as well. If you're already tracking your expenses, good. If you're not, start tracking your expenses. Every penny that you spend for 3 months. You can use a financial planning app or a budgeting app. You can use a spreadsheet. You can use a lined notepad and a pen, whatever you want. Just track your expenses for 3 months. Add it all up, divide by 3, and that is your average expenses for 1 month. Use that. I use Quicken, and I always have. They're not sponsoring this video at all. I use them. And so I have 1 year, I have like 20 years, more than 20 years of expenses that I can look back upon. I've used last year and divided it by 12, so I have a good average expense rate for me, and it was last year's expenses. The point is to be honest. All of my expenses, I mean, they're warts and all. Everything that I spend money on gets put into Quicken, every single penny. And you should do that too. Don't skip some because, you're trying to cook your numbers and make it look better. You're only hurting yourself. Put in everything and get a really good idea of what your monthly expenses are right now, and then use them in your calculations going forward. So I'm using my Quicken numbers divided by 12, and I'm saying to myself, that's what I need to live on in retirement monthly. That's what I lived on in 2024. That's what I need. That's what I need to keep living the way I'm living. And I like the way I'm living right now. So yeah, I use the Canadian government's online retirement income calculator to calculate my estimated income. And when those two numbers line up, that's going to be my number. That's my go date. Simple. Expenses, income, retire. Now, that being said, I work from home, and a lot of you will have different circumstances. Conventional retirement wisdom says that you should plan to have 70 to 80% of your income right now in retirement. Naturally, if you drive your car to work every day right now and you stop on the way to work and buy a coffee and a bagel, and you grab a deli sandwich for lunch every day, and you hit a bar or a patio on Friday after work with all of your workmates, those kind of expenses will not be carried forward into retirement. You won't have them anymore. And that's, I think, where the conventional wisdom is saying that you'll need 70 to 80% of your income when you're retired. But I don't believe that. My feeling is that if you aim to cover all of your day-to-day expenses right now while you're still working, even though you know some of them will disappear in retirement, then that gives you a buffer. That makes your estimate a conservative one. You know you've got a little wiggle room there. You likely won't need that much, but you've got it just in case. And I like the feeling of having money left over at the end of the month. I think I'll like it even more in retirement. Now, money isn't everything. It's one thing. The second thing is your health. In the US, healthcare is a major expense in retirement, and it's something that you have to plan for. In Canada and in a lot of the rest of the world where we all have universal healthcare, health planning is not really such a big thing. And so for this video, because I'm Canadian, I'm not going to spend any time talking about health insurance and saving for that or the financial implications of it. But I am going to talk about health insofar as, what do you think your prospects are of reaching an age of 90-ish before you shuffle off this mortal coil? Again, sensitive topic. Not a lot of people like to talk about that, and some people don't want to think about it at all. But if you're honest with yourself, then you can put a pretty educated time horizon into your financial calculations, and that will help you more than hurt you when it comes to having confidence in your chosen go date. For me, I had two grandparents die of cancer, one at 65 and one at 83. Both of them were lifelong smokers and drinkers, but in general, they were in good health until cancer set in. My other two grandparents died at the ages of 93 and 99, one from complications of dementia and one from old age. My parents are both still alive, kicking, doing well. Some minor maladies are starting to rear their heads, but in general, they're both in good health and totally fine. For me, then, I am overweight. I know this. And that is driving high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and high blood sugar. And I have recently begun taking Ozempic in a bid to lose weight, making a little video series about that up here if you're interested. And hopefully I can mitigate those risks and live to, well, I've been using 93 in my calculations with the Canadian Retirement Income Calculator. So now I know what my expenses are going to be. And as a matter of fact, I've gone a little bit heavy on them. So I have even more confidence that my expenses are in line. I also know approximately an estimated line of income that I will have in retirement and approximately how long I will need that to last me. Voila! My go date is... Wait, there's a third factor, a third question that you should be asking yourself. But what could it be? What could it be if I've already dealt with health and finances and how much I'll need and how much I'm spending and how much I'm going to have coming in and how long I'm going to live? What else could possibly factor into the equation here? Well, it's not numbers. It's intangibles. Are you emotionally ready to retire? Do you work in a work environment that's completely toxic and sucks the joy out of your life every minute that you have to work there? Or you love your job You'd work for free if they wanted you to. Is your job wrecking your health with backbreaking physical demands? Or wrecking your mental health with endless, meaningless meetings and projects that don't fulfill you in any way? Some people are of the mindset that even though I've got all my fancy-dancy calculations done, and they're probably gonna be true, saying that I can retire at this age, I should continue to work until either they fire me or I can't work at all, because you just don't know what life is going to throw at you, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Some people would say all that free time you'll have in retirement will make you spend more than you planned on spending, and then you'll end up living under a bridge in your 70s. Others will say that work gives you structure and it gives you meaning, purpose. It gives you an automatic social circle. Oh, and money. These are all intangibles. Nobody can ignore them. You can't just base your go date for retirement on number crunching by itself. For myself, I have a couple of cautionary tales and one unescapable reality that are my intangibles. The inescapable reality is that I have aging parents, and I am the sibling between my brother and myself who lives closest to them. They have not required any care from me, any extra help, and I'm thankful for that, and I think that they are thankful for that too. They're very independent. But if such a time were to come, then the elder care responsibility would fall mainly to me, because my brother lives in another country, a couple hours away by, to fly, but he could get here. But day to day, the elder care responsibilities will fall to me. And that's an intangible that I have to take into consideration when I'm thinking about retire, not retire. My cautionary tales concern my uncle and a very dear friend, both of whom died before their time from cancer. My uncle was always an adventurer. As a young man, he and my aunt, when they were first married, they traveled everywhere. They traveled all the time. My aunt worked for an airline, so I think they got deals, but they were in China when it just opened up in the 70s. Like, they were fearless. Pretty much my idols. My uncle was a small business owner, and when his small business started taking some setbacks, small ones, but he just never seemed to bounce back from them, not fully. And the business just kept getting smaller and smaller to the point where he was sitting in his office reading the newspaper and just chatting with people who dropped by. I don't think that there was much of a business left. And I think that he was much diminished by that. But eventually he started making plans and devising schemes that were all based around when he was going to receive his inheritance from my grandparents, his part of the inheritance from my grandparents, which is a little bit morbid, but at least, he was forward-looking, had a future, was looking to make deals and plans. Well, the thing is that my grandfather lived until he was 99. I mentioned that before, which was not part of my uncle's plan, I don't think, for my grandfather to live 20 years longer than he thought. Anyhow, all of my uncle's planning and scheming and dealing came to naught because he sat and waited for 20 years for my grandfather to die. And when my grandfather finally did die and my uncle got his inheritance, some of it was tied up in property which he could not sell, and then he got cancer and he died. And he never got to do all the things he had planned and sat upon for 20 years, the last 20 years of his life. I think upon that time now with just great sadness. Sadness for my uncle, for my grandfather, for everything, for that, my young uncle, the adventurer. Where did he go? Like, why did he sit out 20 years of his life waiting for when. I don't want to wait for when. I don't want to waste my time, and I do think it would be a waste of time to continue working if I don't have to continue working. If my numbers add up and they're all in a line, I don't want to continue working because something unknown might happen down the line. I don't want to waste my time doing that. I don't want to wait for when. Who knows when will be? My second cautionary tale concerns a very good friend of mine, of my brothers, of my parents. He was like another kid in our family. He was an only child and his parents were older. And so Bruce spent a lot of time with us at our house, with our family. We were on swim team together. We grew up together. And then you sort of lose touch after everybody goes away to university and moves farther afield for jobs, starts having families and stuff. I didn't have a family, but my brother did, and Bruce did. And, we kept in touch with Christmas cards and stuff, but it wasn't a lot of visiting because we lived on the West Coast, my brother and I, and Bruce had stayed home in London. But he became an orphan at the age of 30. His parents were older, and so they had both passed by the time he was 30, and he inherited quite a bit of money. And it's encouraging to me now that both of my cautionary tales concern inheritances, which I wasn't planning on, but it's working out that way. I myself am not concerned with inheritance at all. I know I'll get one someday, and I hope it's no time soon. But back to Bruce's story, he got a very large inheritance in his early 30s, 30, 31, and he retired. He just decided he didn't want to work anymore. Now, his wife was, and I believe still is, a teacher, and she did not want to retire. She was one of those people who were like, I would do this for free if they wanted me to. She wanted to stay working, teaching. They had 2 young kids. They had inherited the house where he had grown up, and so they moved in there mortgage-free. His wife continued to work. The kids grew up. Bruce played a lot of golf, hung out with the guys, did family stuff, and generally just lived sort of a laid-back, freewheeling lifestyle. Nothing really intensive or serious. He didn't get involved in any business schemes or anything. He just whiled his time away waiting for his wife to decide to retire, I guess. But while he was living this quiet and uneventful life, waiting for his wife, he got cancer. It was extremely aggressive, and he died at the age of 51. Before he died, he called my brother, who was one of his best friends, and my brother flew home to London to visit him a couple weeks before he died. They didn't know at the time that it was only a couple weeks, but it ended up being that way. And he was recounting to my brother from his hospital bed that he was going to beat this thing, and when he did, there was going to be, and he used this phrase, he said, #new Bruce. #new Bruce was going to happen. And that was the Bruce that was going to do stuff, was going to travel, was going to visit his friends on the West Coast. He was going to go to all of the competitions that his son and daughter were in. He was going to do all the new business ventures that he'd been thinking about but not exactly doing. All of these things he was going to do in this new era of #new Bruce as soon as he beat the cancer, and he was going to do it. And my brother came back and told me this, and then Bruce died 2 weeks later. He did not beat it. He did not become #new Bruce. And that really stuck with me. I think about #new Bruce a lot when I'm talking to myself, which is a lot, about retirement and whether I should continue to work one more year and just push off things that I want to do for one more year. I'm just going to push them off for one more year, and then I'll do them. And then I think #new Bruce. and I don't want to push them off. I don't want to work one more year if I don't have to. If I can make my expenses, income line up, then I want to retire right then, and I want to do all of the things. I don't want to put it off. So these are the intangibles that are my intangibles when I'm thinking about picking a date for retirement. Your intangibles will be different, but you will have them, and you need to give them the space and the respect that they deserve. I said in a previous video when I was 59 that my retirement date was going to be 65. I had figured that out. Well, here I am 60, and after taking into account my number crunching and my intangibles, my date is now 63. I'll retire at 63. Retirement is a huge decision, but asking yourself these 3 questions, money, health, and the intangibles that are facing you, the unique intangibles that are facing you, those will help you make the right decision. Hey, if you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to the channel. It really helped me out. Thanks.